Hi everyone. So in this video I'm going to do how to create the equation of a line that basically is the median of a triangle. So in order to do that, you obviously have to take a triangle which might be given to you, and I'm going to make the assumption that the triangle is being plotted on the x and y axes, or sometimes called the Cartesian plane. Now it doesn't matter where it is. It can be in any quadrant. It can span several quadrants, as you can see here, but you do have to know, I guess, where the points are and then which median you're going to be interested in. Now, if you've forgotten about triangles and medians, you can watch a video on kind of a refresher from grade 9. So I'll put up a link up above. You don't have to watch it, but it may help you to try to kind of refresh on some of these points. So here's a triangle, and I'm going to just arbitrarily which median I would want to be able to create. So median is going to span from one particular vertex. So let's say I'm going to take it from this particular vertex. You could have chosen any one. Now, once you choose a vertex, then basically the median is going to be at some point along the opposite line. So this particular line right here. And we're going to try to find what that median is. So it's going to be a touching at the midpoint of that line, which is shaded in green now, and we're going to find the equation of it. So the particular steps to take are the following ones. So you typically will find the midpoint first of the opposite basically line to the vertex that you've chosen. So it's going to be the green one. So that's going to be our step number 1. After that, you're going to find the slope of the point, which is the midpoint, and then the vertex. So that's going to be the second thing. Finally, you're going to find the Y-intercept, because now that you have 2 points and you have a slope, you can find the Y-intercept, and then the last item is just writing the equation on its own, and I'm just going to write it in y is equal to mx plus b form. So let's do it, okay? So let's jump in to try to see how that can be done. So step 1, finding the midpoint. Now, in order to find the midpoint, I have done a video on that if you want to have more. So I'm going to put up a link up above there, but I obviously will do the midpoint here as well. So in order to create my midpoint here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create myself basically kind of an opposite triangle within here, a right angle triangle. So I'm going to create, okay, so this triangle right here, which is going to be a right angle triangle in this way. And I'm going to find the midpoint, which is going to be the first thing that I'll do. All right, so finding the midpoint right there. So in order to find the midpoint, you may recall, so midpoint is simply equal to, so I need to know, so what is the x value? So my x value is going to be the 2 values of the x added together. So in this case, it's going to be the -1 and then -6. So -1 plus -6 divided by 2. And that gives you the midpoint, which is going to be, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be somewhere along here. So it's going to be this particular point. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the y. And in order to find the y, so I need to know what the midpoint between here and here is. And so that's going to be taking both of the y values. So my y values are 6 and -4. So I'm going to add those two, 6 plus -4, and then divided by 2. And that's going to be my midpoint. So notice, so -1 plus -6 is going to be -7 divided by 2. So this is going to be -3.5. And as you can see, that's exactly where that is. So -3.5, which is right there. So that's my x value. All right, so that's going to be my midpoint. And then my y, which is going to be 6 plus -4, which is just 2. And then over 2, that's going to be just 1. And as you can see, that's exactly where that is right there. So that's this point right here. So that's my midpoint. So step 1 is completed. So that's not a big deal. So now I have 2 particular points. I'm going to erase kind of most of the stuff here so it's not as cluttered for us, and we don't need a lot of this information within here at the moment. So let me erase these things right there. All right, so I no longer need this particular point, so I'm going to erase that. Let me clean this up right here a little bit. And now what I'm going to be looking for is I want to know the line which goes through these 2 points. So that's what I'm going to be interested in. So I need to know what the line is here, because that is the actual median, right? So it's from the vertex to the midpoint. Because I have the 2 points, I can easily now find the slope. All right, so what is the slope? Slope is simply rise over run. So I'm going to find what the slope is. So this is step number 2. Okay, so slope is rise over run. Now my rise, which in this case is so going up. So if you may remember, so this is just simply y2 minus y1 divided by, and this is going to be x2 minus x1. So let me call this particular point, let's say point number 2, and then this one is going to be point number 1. So now my y values, so this is going to be 3 minus, and that one is 1. All right, so that's right here, divided by, now x is 4 minus, and this is going to be negative 3.5, negative 3.5. So my slope is going to be 2 all over 7.5. All right, so that's what that's going to be. Now, because it's 2 over 7.5, I mean, you can divide it. It's going to give you a decimal. You can probably just change it back into fractional form, so it looks a little bit better than this. So 7.5 really is the same thing as simply 15 over 2, all right? So what you have is, so this is 2, this right here, so this is 15 over 2, because that's 7.5. And this will now look a little bit cleaner, all right? So if I'm going to leave the slope as simply 4 over 15, and that's exactly the same thing. I just want to show you on the calculator. So 2 divided by 7.5. Okay, so it's 0.2666666, and that's why I didn't want to change it to decimal. And then notice 4 divided by 15, all right, is exactly the same thing. So I'm going to keep it as a fraction. So there's my slope. So here is my slope. All right, so now I have a slope. Now, that takes care of step number 2. Step number 3 is, finding the y-intercept. So my equation of a line is y is equal to mx plus b. Now I know my slope now is 4 over 15. This is 4 over 15. I do have 2 points on this line, right? I have my midpoint, which was negative 3.51. And then I also have the vertex from the point, and that was 4, 3. 4, 3. I like this point a little bit better, so I'm going to substitute this in here to find my b, my y-intercept, because I don't want to deal with that decimal value of negative 3.5. So let me substitute that in here. So this is my y, which is 3, equals to 4 over 15, my x, which is 4, plus b. So now with the substitution, so we'll get 3, 4 times 4, so that's 16 over 15, plus b. I'm going to bring this over on the other side. It's going to be 3 minus 16 over 15 equals to b. You can find a common denominator within here. So for this 3, don't forget 3 is over 1. So changing the denominator to 15, so that's going to make this 45, because 45 divided by 15 is our 3, minus 16 over 15 is equal to b. So now you're going to get 45 minus 16, so that's 29. This is going to be 29 over 15 is equal to b, and there you have your equation of the line. So this is going to be 4 over 15 x plus 29 over 15. So if you look here, so that median, which passes through the midpoint and then through the vertex, so that's what it would be. Now you can put restrictions on this particular line, because notice that it only, if it's a true median, it's going to be really just between negative 3.5 and 4 on the x, because that's how, okay, so this right here, it just ends there. It doesn't go on forever. So you can restrict them if you like. Okay, so notice that here, if you put true restrictions on this line, then you're going to have that your x value, all right, so if you put those restrictions, is between negative 3.5 and I forget there, and 4. All right, so that's your kind of restriction that you have for this particular line. And that is it. And those are your steps. So find the midpoint, find the slope, find the y-intercept, and then write the equation of the line. And I guess you can put the restrictions if necessary, but that will depend on your teachers. All right. Okay, so thanks for watching. We'll see you in a future video. Bye, everybody.